My name is Pat Schaefer. I've been a resident of Sendas since 2012. We built a house over in the Granite Mountain Enclave, and I am offering my candidacy for the board. In my perspective, I would say it is a pandemic and the impact that that's having on our residents. And since it's estimated that the pandemic will continue into most of 2021, I think that the board can either choose to be passive or aggressive in terms of how we react on behalf of our residents. There are risky behaviors to be considered. I believe there are events that could be used to build a greater sense of community, which is coming up in another question, but to do so, we can do it within the guidelines that provide the safety that people need and still give them an opportunity to socialize, be together, understand that they're part of something bigger than themselves and that they have a voice in what happens in Los Andes. There's a lot of pandemic fatigue. I know that's a buzzword, but it's simply the growing concern people have about losing jobs and not going to school, losing childcare opportunities, being isolated, not having the economic certainty they've had in the past. All of these things sort of build and create depression, anxiety, even fear. And I think the board has an opportunity to, be the leadership component for our little bubble, for our bubble of Los Andes, and to do things on behalf of our own people that will help our community stay together and help each other be safe. There are even projects that I've dreamt up that might work for us. I'll give you an example. What if we had a Make Masks Cool campaign and there was some sort of competition to make masks a desirable thing rather than some sort of debate? Or the Guardian Angel Project, where we look after each other and we find resources and talent among our own residents that can be shared among the other residents that might need something at that time. There's a few other ideas, but I think that pretty much covers what I think is our immediate issue, and it relates specifically to the COVID pandemic. I think much of what I just shared in question number 1 gives you a pretty good idea of how I perceive an opportunity for the association to be involved in the community and to actually model behaviors that provide safety and security and things of that nature at events for people here in the community while building that sense of community. I think people find community when they feel that they are members of something greater than themselves. They have some amount of influence over their life and the community where they live, that the community responds at least to some of their needs, and they feel some sort of an emotional connection to that community, to their neighbors, their schools, their friends, the community at large. And so some of the new procedures and guidelines for COVID that have been implemented by the board are certainly noticeable in the courts and on the courts and in the parks and in the facilities themselves, and that's all very helpful. Perhaps we can help model safe behaviors and reinforce how we can take care of each other within Los Andes. There are currently both 1-year and 3-year terms, as I understand it. So if I'm the 1-year term, I would focus on efforts to address the pandemic, and I've outlined most of that in the previous 2 questions. For the 3-year appointments and beyond, it's a combination of both that immediate need, that first year out, this next year of time that we spend helping our folks with their pandemic needs. But at the same time, you would take a long-term view. 3 years is not a long time. A lot of boards do a 5 to 10-year vision, but irregardless of that, I think creating that long-term view of the future is something that we do to inspire the residents, to mobilize people to make improvements that create a better life for all of us, and that we believe that our community supports us, and the board's behavior and actions certainly can endorse that. In my previous work on boards, it's always been a privilege to represent the interests of other people, those people that I serve. Sometimes that's been college presidents or parents or students. Sometimes it's legislatures, citizens of a state. It has also been owners of businesses and professionals in a specific field. So almost always in my role as a board member, I was involved in negotiations that involved all of those stakeholders, plus state legislators and congressional delegations and so forth. And we work through negotiations that find outcomes to meet the needs. And my job is always to meet the needs of my constituents. So in Sendas, as a board member, my constituents are the residents who live here. Thank you for your time.